to sign, to extend, to trade for. Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker stand at a moment in time. What are we going to do? We're going to talk about the possibilities and what the former skipper, World Series champion Dusty Baker, had to say about it. Let's go.
Jainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talks Astros. Find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Astros411 on X and on Facebook. They can also find me at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, and iHeartRadio, where I'm always positive, always Stros.
Hey guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go ahead and check us out. Go and help us get to 15,000 subscribers before the end of the 2024 year. Hopefully the Astros make it back to the World Series in 2025. We're going to talk about some of the moves that possibly Dana Brown needs to do. But today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. And by the way, congrats to the Yankees. Because the Astros are not in the playoffs, they made it back to the World Series.
I mean, kind of threw me off. Yeah, this is the first time a non-Astros postseason occurs in 8 years, and the Yankees make it to the World Series. Two things aren't related, are they? Probably not, but they probably are. But seriously, to talk about that game just for 1 second, Juan Soto, I don't know if you saw his at bat in the 10th inning. If you're a baseball fan and you haven't watched that, go back and watch that at bat. He worked that count, and he was just tempting the Guardians pitcher to throw him a fastball, and he punished it. And that was all she wrote. And they won Juan Soto right there just probably secured his fate in New York. If the Yankees don't re-sign him, then we need to check the mental capacity of the ownership of that ball club, because I don't think he deserves to be anywhere else but in New York Yankees uniform. And
well, not only that, Brett, but the Yankees fans started chanting "Re-sign Soto, re-sign Sotos," and
nice.
They were in Cleveland. They were in Cleveland too.
Yeah,
and so it was just amazing how many Yankees fans were there. But this was a big moment for them, and I'm not saying that they weren't a team of destiny or whatever this year, but I know the Astros have always kind of played them well in the playoffs, and maybe have been a whole different story. But congrats to Yankees. They got back to put the World Series. Now it looks like the Dodgers are likely going to get back to the World Series as well. The Mets put up a fight, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to go back to being a Dodgers and a Yankees World Series. This is what baseball wanted. They wanted the big market. They wanted Shohei Ohtani versus Aaron Judge and Soto, and I think this is exactly what they wanted. Now, do the Dodgers have enough pitching to go and hold off the Yankees offense? That's the question. But a lot of eyes are on the Astros in Houston, definitely. But what's their next plans? And I know that Dusty Baker is enjoying his, I don't know if it's retirement, but he's actually doing some great commentary on the postseason games, and they were asking him about some Astros questions. So we do want to address some of those before we get too deep into our conversation today. And he did make an emotional plea about Alex Bregman. He said, "I hope they sign Bregman because he's one of those pillars of that team. He was one of those guys that I could depend on to send a message, and I don't even have to tell him what message to send." That's what I love about Bregman.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think Dusty Baker, the ultimate professional, he was a player's coach. And I've talked to several times to Clay Hensley, one of his former players. And This is what he said regarding negotiations for contracts, and we'll talk about both Tucker and Valdez later, but Tucker, Valdez, Bregman, all these guys are, on the cusp of the Astros sign him, even Kikuchi. And this is what he said he said, I wouldn't rule out Crane on negotiations. He goes, I do believe in Jim Crane because he's not opposed to spending some money to stay on top. He expects to stay on top. He goes, I don't play golf, but you talk to people that do play golf with them and he expects to win. He's spoiled by winning and winning spoils you. I don't see him sparing any expense to try to remain on top and get a good team. He said, I love Houston. I like the organization. I like Jim Crane, especially because he's one of the few people in the game that never told me a lie. And I'm big on being honest with me. So look, Dusty Baker, thank you for bringing yourself back into the fold. I like these comments, and I think his words are wise. And that was one of the things I always respected about Dusty, even though I was critical of moves he made. You can't replace his knowledge and understanding of baseball. And I think what he is doing is hitting the nail on the head. Alex Bregman, I think, Eric, as it becomes more and more apparent of what this team needs, he's one hole I don't think they would be able to fill.
Yes, and he went on to say, he said, some of the battles with the front office I've had for a number of years. Sometimes you get tired of fighting City Hall on something you're sure about. The one thing that kind of bothered me a little bit was I only chose one person on my staff. That was AJ Hinch's staff, everybody but one guy. We had a blueprint on how to win, but I wish I could have had more freedom in choosing my staff. So that was just kind of his parting word. So he just said it was nothing against Jim Crane. He just felt like the front office itself was the way it was run. He wasn't given the freedom to have his guys in, his number one guys. And so did that really hurt him in the grand scheme of things? No, he still went on to win a World Series with Houston Astros. But could you've had some more winning World Series with the Astros? Who knows? But I know people are like, well, this is could have, should have, would have, whatever. But Dusty Baker is being honest right now. And that's why I think we need to take what he says about Alex Bregman to heart. This is a guy who is the heart and soul of this franchise. I know if you ask, Altuve is probably that guy, the face of the franchise, especially with everything that happened. I know you did a short the other day about what Clayton Kershaw said. I don't want to bring that up right now, but Altuve has been the face of the franchise for many
100%.
years and probably will become one of the franchise icons if he's not already there. But you've got also two guys that are on their last years of their contract after this year, Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker. These are both superstars, whether they show up in the postseason or not. These guys during the regular season are typically on top of their game. Framber Valdez is still going to get some votes for Cy Young, even though he didn't have his typical best season. But he also said that these are guys that you might see Jim Crane open up his pocketbook to try to keep both of them in. You got Valdez and Tucker. So Baker said that he wouldn't rule, like he said, those were what he was referring to. He wouldn't rule bringing those guys back, but I don't think you can bring them all back. This is going to be a salary that's going to rival the Mets if you do.
No, yeah, definitely. And he's not Cohen. Cohen is 3 times richer than the second richest owner in Major League Baseball. Cohen almost did it. And look, I mean, we're talking right now, it's 6-2 in the Dodgers' favor. The game's not over. So it's not, I mean, they're not dead to rights just yet. By the time you listen to this podcast, if you're listening Monday, it might have been decided. But it's about moving forward in a way that you can not just pay one guy, but multiple guys. I mean, Eric, Jim Crane has been able to pay Yordan Alvarez considerably under market value. And I didn't know this until today, until I did some research, but that there's this market value calculator, and Yordan Alvarez is valued between $44 and $50 million when they use WAR as this. There's this formula with WAR, and they come out with these numbers. And I think the most he's going to make is like, what, 20 million or 26 million, maybe at the most during the lifetime of his contract. I've got it right here somewhere in my notes. But the bottom line is he got Bregman, he got these guys, and he extended them at a discount. So now it looks like he's going to have to pony up a little bit more.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can't keep all your stars. So we've talked about teams like the Royals and other teams that eventually had to give these guys up. And especially with the Orioles, eventually you're going to have to give some of these young stars up. So we'll go and continue this conversation next. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to Prize Picks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Look, this few as 4 picks, you can win a lot of money. You can win 100 times your money. Prize Picks has millions of players playing, over 10 million, myself and Eric included, in over 30 states, California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. That's right. They also invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out. If your lineup isn't perfect, you can double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks puts its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, I can get my money as quick as 15 minutes. That's right. So go to Prize Picks today, download the app, use a promo code LOCKEDONMLB, and you'll get $50 when you play $5 instantly. It's highly encouraged that you go right now to Prize Picks and listen to me and get Prize Picks. Prize Picks, run your game.
Hey guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. We do appreciate it. Go and subscribe to us and hit that little red button down there and go and give us a big fat thumbs up while you're at it. And Brett, I know it is the off season and it's kind of weird that we're talking World Series and it's not, the Astros aren't trying to chase to get to the World Series. But I think with Jim Crane and Dana Brown, they're probably meeting with the front office staff right now, and they're trying to decide what the next step is. Is it time to fold the towel? Is it time to just kind of sell some of their top upcoming free agents? Or are they going to try to continue the window, to continue winning? We've already heard Jim Crane say as long as he's the owner, he's going to keep the window open. But at some point, some of these guys are going to outprice themselves. And you can't retain them all. Like you were saying, we got a great player, team-friendly deal on Bregman the first time, Altuve the first and second time, I believe. Also with Alvarez, they got a team-friendly deal. You can't keep on getting these team-friendly deals. Eventually, you're going to have to pay the piper. So this is a situation where you have to unmute yourself and then go ahead and tell us what you have to say about this.
No, yeah, definitely. Well, like I said, just to confirm, because I went back, I couldn't find the notes that I had made. Yordahl will make 26 million in the years 2026, 27, and 28. But when we talk about Framber Valdez, when we talk about the possibility of trading him, the person that comes to mind first that compares to his situation is when Corbin Burns, who had 1 year left, like Framber Valdez does right now. Okay. Framber set to make an estimated 17.8 million. So do you trade Framber Valdez and maybe get 3 pieces? The Brewers actually got Joey Ortiz, DL Hall, and the 34th pick in the 2024 draft. Now, I don't know if you get that kind of a haul for Valdez, but if you're going to trade Valdez, you got to get something back, and you've got to get a top 100 prospect or 2. I think if he's on this list for the Cy Young Award, I think if he's top 3 or top 5, I mean, Eric, I know he's kind of crapped the bed in the playoffs since the Game 6 of the World Series in 2022. He hasn't been great in the playoffs, but you can't argue with his season numbers. And there are teams out there that want him. Now, what the Astros, I don't think will do is they're not going to trade him in the division. I don't think they trade him in the league. I think they trade him to the National League. And there's plenty of teams like the Cubs, the Phillies, heck, the Braves, Max Fried, I think, is not going to be in Atlanta anymore. I mean, we've seen Atlanta sign former Astros.
Right.
Framber, do you trade with the Braves? What do the Braves have? I don't know what National League teams are set up farm system wise, but that's what you would look for. And if not, what they've typically done, Eric, is they get the draft pick. If they're okay with the draft pick, they'll take the draft pick. But if they're going to get creative, they're going to have to really get creative and see what is out there. So those are my thoughts on Valdez. I think you could get some pretty solid pieces back for him, but do you want to keep him? Because, Eric, there are guys coming back this year that are coming off of the mend. You've got Urquidy, Javier. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, Garcia, JP France, Lance McCullers, and eventually Javier, Jose Urquidy. All these guys are coming off of surgery. So you've got a lot of pitchers, but you've got some guys that you aren't really going to count on a lot for. So if you trade Valdez, are you going to sign Kikuchi as a counter? If you do that, it might lessen the sting. But I don't know, Eric. What do you think?
Well, if they're serious about keeping the window open, I don't know if they do trade Valdez. I do agree that they do need to shore up the farm system, because if they get that draft pick, it's probably going to be a early round draft pick. It's going to help them in the future, but it's not going to help them now. So if they want to keep their window open, trading Valdez, if they know for sure they're not going to re-sign him, then sure, maybe you can get 2-3 top prospects for a whole season of Framber Valdez, who Dusty Baker says is one of the best left-handers in a game. So I think that he does have a high price tag. I think he probably, despite his mental issues in certain games and how he pitches sometimes, he does have the stuff of an ace. And so some team would think, hey, if we could get our hands on him, we can probably turn his career around and make him into this guy that could be a leader on our team. But his current market value as of right now is $23.6 million. So that would be about a 3-year deal, $70.7 million per year. That is something that is not out of reach for the Houston Astros. It's something that they could possibly do. Does that take them out of re-signing Kikuchi? That's something they have to take into consideration. I believe you said the qualifying offer this year, or whatever he's supposed to make in arbitration, is about 17.8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's what it's estimated at. Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So if you go ahead and maybe buy out his last year of arbitration, maybe at about $20 million, and then give him about 21, maybe 22, $23 million for the next 3 years, that will give him enough incentive to re-sign for below his market value. And you're not paying you're maybe paying about $70 million. I haven't done exact math, but it's just a way to extend him. And I think that Framber Valdez is more likely to re-sign or be extended than Kyle Tucker. Not because Tucker's not valuable, but I think Tucker's looking for a little bit longer term deal. And we've seen a lot of pitchers recently not get these long-term deals. You mentioned Corbin Burns earlier. He's one of the guys that they have a comparison to.
Right.
His deal was a 1-year, $15.6 million deal. Joe Musgrove got 5 years, $100 million. Sonny Gray had 3 years, $75 million. And Pablo Lopez had 4 years, $73.5 million. So and they're all about the same, if not younger than Framber is at about 30 years old. So I think the Astros, if they really wanted to, they could re-sign him, but would that affect? I don't know if they're going to go after Justin Verlander at this point. I think Kikuchi is more likely, and I think that Framber Valdez is more likely than Verlander.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you could probably get a pitcher with Valdez's value for a little bit lower cost than what you would an open market of a bigger name from a different club. So I think Kikuchi is very signable. I think you get maybe 2 years with a 3rd-year player option. That's what I would do with him. I think he fits well here. I think he fit well in the clubhouse. Someone's asking here, well, gosh, do you think the Astros should go for a full rebuild? Absolutely not. No. Now, if you can't sign Bregman and you hear Kyle Tucker's unhappy and and Valdez is clamoring to either be traded or get signed, and stuff kind of goes awry, then maybe you think, well, maybe we need to start thinking about the yard sale version of the Astros. But I still think we're a bit away from that, Eric. We're not there yet. But there's a lot of things that they're trying to parse and divide out right now to see what's going to benefit them, because they want to win now. And we can't forget they've got guys like Melton and Yola. They've got some studs down there in AAA that are ready, that are chomping at the bit.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you for making us first listen. We'll be back. We'll go and talk about Kyle Tucker. What's his value? Would the Astros be stupid to trade him? We'll go and continue the conversation next.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com today and make sure you hang out with America's #1 sports book. Monday night, they have a double header. That's right. The Cardinals versus the Chargers and the Buccaneers versus the Ravens. -3.5 on the spread for the Ravens, +3.5 for Tampa Bay. And on the money line, you've got +104 on Arizona and -122 on the Los Angeles Chargers. So check out FanDuel. They're America's #1 sports book. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats. You can go live play-by-play. So much more right there in the same app where you place your bets. You'll get started today with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 guaranteed in bonus bets with your first $5 bet. Go to FanDuel.com today. Why? Because it's America's #1 sports book.
Hey guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. And if you're wondering where the idea for this podcast came from, it's from you listeners. Every episode we see one person say, well, what about if the Astros can't sign these two guys? Why don't we trade them? So we do every once in a while. We'll do no, Brett, we're going to do a mailbag episode coming up pretty soon, but we do take your responses and we do turn them into actual episodes. And that's kind of what we're doing, because we always see people, oh, well, we need trade Tucker. If we can't sign him, then let's go and trade him somewhere else. But I just think that this is not something that the Astros do. They are in still this mindset of we have a winning team. And any seasons that they probably would have traded at the trade deadline, it would have been last year when they were kind of down. But they're getting a little bit back to respectability towards the trade deadline because they actually acquired a Kikuchi and everything. But I just don't see, as long as Jim Crane is in control of this team, them doing a rebuild unless they absolutely start sucking. They have consecutive losing seasons, and they're like, why are we going to spend this much money? But the question is, how much money is Jim Crane willing to spend? Is he willing to put all his money out there? Because somebody said in the comments earlier, it's very easy for us to spend Jim Crane's money, but it's not. But at the end of the day, it's like we don't know what's going to happen, because we know that these guys like Houston, they want to stay here, but you're not going to be able to keep all the talent. They're lucky with Alvarez; they're able to extend them when they did. They were lucky to get Bregman and Altuve, I believe, the same spring training when they did. But you can't get all your stars to sign these team-friendly deals. Eventually, you're going to have to go out of your comfort zone, get out of your box, and just give them a big-time deal. And if you're looking at anybody that deserves that, it's going to be Alex Bregman and Kyle Tucker, because Alex Bregman is that team leader. He's plays the defense at third base, and he's also a good hitter. But Kyle Tucker, he has a 21.2 WAR since 2021, and despite what we saw in the playoffs, we don't know if he was even ready. I mean, fully healthy at that time. He is an all-star. He is a MVP candidate for the Houston Astros. If he didn't miss all that time with that injury, I think that we would have seen a much better productive Tucker, but I don't think the Astros will trade him.
No, well, I mean, Kyle Tucker, 21.1 WAR. I mean, the guy is invaluable. Now, the thing is, people talk about money all the time, and people equate spending with success, and it's just not. Spending does not equal success. Now, if you look right now, the Yankees have a 2024 payroll of $300 million. You have the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are more than likely going to win this series, even if they choke away game 6. I'm pretty sure they win game 7, $325 million payroll. But look, Philadelphia, $248 million. And then you go to other teams, the Mets, $336 million. So spending doesn't, people that say, well, if Crane would just spend his money, then the Astros would what? Just because they spend money, they're the 4th or 5th highest payroll, and they got bounced in the ALDS. I mean, the Dodgers last year, until this year, the Dodgers have been getting bounced in early playoffs since 2020. This is the furthest the Dodgers have been with all their payroll. So the whole argument really the whole discussion really falls flat on its face. It doesn't even take off. The bottom line is this: how much do you value Kyle Tucker, Jim Crane? How much is he really worth to you? Do his contributions on the field and at the plate really mean something? Because if they do, then you're going to pay the man what he deserves. And you're not going to pay Kyle Tucker what you're going to pay Juan Soto. He's not going to get a $500 million contract. I don't even think Kyle Tucker gets $400 million. I honestly don't even know that he gets $300 million, Eric. I'm just being really honest. I don't know. I think these massive, bombastic contracts are reserved for the people on the coast, the New Yorks and the LAs, and I don't see any player coming here. I don't see another team. Maybe he gets $300 million, but I don't know, Eric. I just don't know. And Kyle Tucker doesn't come across to me as one of those greedy type players, but this guy, 21.2 WAR since 2021, his production. Now, look, here is the, they say the devil's in the details. Outside of Kyle Tucker, who do they have in the outfield? I mean, realistically, Myers and McCormick were both flat. They basically flatlined baseball wise. Dubon is really your only other really sure-handed guy out there. I mean, he's a utility Gold Glove nominee for a second year in a row. And so they're going to have to get other people in the outfield. Is this the year of Jacob Melton? Is he a rookie that shines? If they don't sign Bregman, is DeCenzo the guy that comes up and plays third and first, and they platoon with Caratini, with Dubon, with DeCenzo? You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things, but it is definitely more tricky than just sign him or don't sign him, I think. But Kyle Tucker, I've said it for a while. He's the guy you break the bank for. He's the guy you pay that contract for, because to me, he's going to be the steady in the storm. He's going to be the guy that's not going to be missing because of injury. This was an incidental injury. This wasn't because he's accident prone or injury prone. So, and it's a freak thing, Eric. How many players have gone out because they shattered their shin off a foul ball? I can't think of a single one. I'm sure it's happened, but I can't think of one. So Kyle Tucker is that guy to me. You're muted.
In 2025, he's supposed to make about $16.7 million. Kyle Tucker is on arbitration. So It depends. He made $12 million last year. So there is a way that you can work it out where you're basically buying out his last arbitration year and then adding on to what his value is. So there is a way to do it. So if you're looking at what his current market value is, it is about $27.9 million per season, but that's about 7 years at $195 million in total. So about that would rank him about 17th highest player in baseball. He would compare to the Juan Sotos, the Mookie Betts, the George Springers, and the Fernando Tatises. So there's a way that you can structure a deal where you buy out his last season, maybe for about maybe give him $20 million, similar to what you did with Framber Valdez. And then you just kind of maybe incrementally raise his salary. to maybe 25, then 25.5, 26,
So last year,
27, something like that.
So last year, Vlad Guerrero got the most in arbitration, 19.9 million.
Right.
Give him 20.9 million. Give him more. Give him hell. I don't care. Give him 22. Give him 22 million and sign him for 6 years after that. 6 years with the 7th year option. That's basically 8 years right there. I mean, give it to him. I don't see why not. I mean, make good in the arbitration process. Don't tell them, well, you fouled the ball off your shin and broke your leg, so you couldn't help us for 2 months. So sorry, bud, we're gonna give you only 17 this year. Give him $22 freaking million. I know it's not my money, but 22 from 17, that's not a big leap. That's not a big leap. Just do that, sign him. Someone said, where's Hayward going? Well, he's not coming back here. He was just filling a spot, hope to strike the iron while it's hot. I don't see
I wouldn't mind him coming back. I think that he's a valuable asset.
Yeah, I just
$1 million. I mean, it's not a bad investment.
Well, that's if they get rid of the other 2 guys in center field too, right? Isn't it? I mean, you don't want to have.
He played a role with the team. Like you always need people on the bench. So I think that there's a spot for Jason Hayward.
I guess you're looking for a bench player, but I don't know. Jason Hayward's not on my 2025 Astros bingo board. So he's not on mine.
Well, I think that he is a leader. He's somebody that's a veteran. He's not somebody that's going to break the bank to bring him back. He is past his prime, but he's occasionally going to hit you a home run, and he's going to play some great defense. That's what he's known it for. So I don't think it's I think he likes playing here, and not too many teams are probably going to bring him, like throw a lot of money at him. So if he liked playing in Houston, why not give him a chance here?
Why not gamble?
We need as many leaders as we have on this team. So
why not gamble,
anyway,
dude?
I think that's all we got for do what?
I said, why not gamble?
Well, Gamble needs to prove that he can do this longer.
Gamble was better than Hayward. Gamble was better than Hayward.
For how many games? For the rest of his career versus how many games? So
who has more years in their career, Gamble or Hayward? Gamble does.
Hayward.
No, he doesn't. No.
Anyway, that's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We'll be here for you all off season. Don't forget to make us part of your daily routine. Go and subscribe to us. Make us first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, go and check us out. And we will see you tomorrow. And go Stros.
Gamble's 32 and Hayward is 35. Boom. Told you Gamble's got more. I like both of them, by the way. They both did a good job.